Jessica.
I'm Emmalynn.
And today we are coming at you with our favorite books of 2023. Now, we didn't really set a certain amount. We weren't going to try to force the 23 books.
Right.
I don't know if we ended up with maybe a little more, but it is between two people, so bear that in mind. So I'm going to jump right in and start with the first book I read. I think it was one of the first books I read this year, and that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, and the second book is about to come out in just a few weeks, I think. But I got this book as a digital ARC from NetGalley, and I literally was like one chapter in and was like, pause. I'm gonna need to go buy this. And so I skirted on over to Barnes & Noble and picked this up. But if you don't know, this book follows Emily Wilde, our main character, and she is a scholar who is writing an encyclopedia of fairies. And it's going to be the first book the world has ever read about fairy lore and everything that involves. But in order for her to kind of finish her last part of this encyclopedia, she needs to go to this certain place. Can't remember what it's called, but it's like a village in the far, far north. It's like super reclusive, and so she needs to do like some discovering of the fae creatures and the lore that lives there. And so she kind of goes on this little adventure, but in doing so, her like co-worker, we'll say, who's also a professor, I think he decides that she needs his help, so he just like shows up at this village and kind of like charms everyone, and she's kind of annoyed with him because he's just like a very charismatic, charming person, and she finds it really hard to connect with people. And so she's like, why does everyone like him and not me? Why is everyone like opening up to him and not me? Well, she finds out, and I'm not going to tell you because that would be a spoiler. But this is just the perfect cozy fantasy book. Like, I haven't read anything else like it. And one thing that's really unique about it is throughout the book it has little footnotes of like things that she's researching or like writing in her encyclopedia, and it's just a really good time. And this cover is so amazing. Like the matte, the print on the hardback, so amazing.
Okay, my first book is Daisy Jones and the Six, which is a reread for me.
Which I also read for the first time. I
tried not to put any rereads on here, but this I love it so much. And with the show coming out, it really was my soundtrack, spring, summer 2023. And I just can't not mention it. I absolutely love Daisy's character, honestly. She definitely has issues, but like sober Daisy, amazing.
Yeah.
She's such an interesting character, and I love how they really depicted how everyone was affected by her actions in the book and the TV show and the songs. It's just so good. So if you don't know, this is a fictional 70s rock band, and it's in interview format, so it has like their name, what they say, blah,
like
blah,
a
blah.
transcript.
Yeah, so it goes by really fast. It almost feels like reading a screenplay, except it doesn't have like enters,
like
stage
actions,
right.
Yeah.
But it's so good. I'm very attached.
The thing that I loved most about the book and the creative mind of Taylor Jenkins Reid is like nothing will ever compare to her for me, because it's like she wrote this book, but then she took it to a next level by writing the actual songs and their lyrics that are being discussed about in this book. So it just feels so real. Like, even the prologue of this book, like when I read it, I was like, are you sure this isn't real? Like, are we sure? But yeah, just like hearing them talk about like Aurora, the song, and then you go to the back of the book and the actual lyrics are fully written out for you. It's just I don't know. It's like, it's just mind-blowing to me that she is that creative.
Also, like, when you find out who's doing the interviews, it's just so good. So satisfying. But, like, the first line is, this book is an attempt to piece together a clear portrait of how the renowned 1970s rock band Daisy Jones and the Six rose to fame, as well as what led to their abrupt and infamous split while on tour in Chicago on July 12, 1979. Like...
And you're like, wait a minute. Who are you?
Is this Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah.
Or
it seems
I
so
could talk about this all day.
I will say, like, if you're unsure how much Emmalynn loves Daisy Jones, they were on her Spotify Wrapped. So
They were.
Anyways, so this year I read the Shadow and Bone, the Grishaverse. Yeah, it was okay. But what I really, truly loved was the Six of Crows duology. And, like, I'm a huge proponent of, like, okay, if I need to read a series that connects to another series to understand it better, then I'll do that. And I know people say you need to read the Grishaverse, and there's, like, a small amount that's related, but if you're on the fence and you don't want to read the Grishaverse series, but you do want to read the Six of Crows duology, just skip ahead and read this. Like, don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
You know?
To me, it's only if you care about Shadow and Bone being spoiled.
Yeah.
It is.
But if you don't know, this is about 6 misfits who are just kind of like trying to survive their life that they've been dealt, the hand that they've been dealt in Ketterdam, and they each have like a different talent, we'll say. But our main character is Kaz Brecker, who is, I will live and die defending Kaz Brecker. He is the most complicated character I think I've ever read about. Like, he is so ruthless, so just dark and deadly, but like for good reason, because Mans has had to survive on the streets. And just the formed family, or the found family aspect that these 6 individuals have together, like they literally depend on each other for survival, is like nothing else I've ever read. So this one kind of follows, like, sets the stage for like all 6 of their characters, the world that they live in, and then they are set to go on a heist to make a lot of money. And then this book kind of follows like the aftermath of the heist, like the ramifications of the heist, like what they're having to deal with because of that, who they're having to deal with because of that. And it's just so good. Like, I should just reread this and annotate it, because it's YA, and because it's YA, you think, oh, there can't be that much like depth or like character development, but there is more character development in these books than a lot of adult books I've read. And so I just can't recommend this enough.
Our next book is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I know pretty much everyone and their mother has read this. If you weren't on the Fourth Wing bandwagon, you were on this bandwagon. I'm on this bandwagon. I read both, but this is the only one of my favorites. But yeah.
For a reason.
And something about this just... I don't know what it is about this book that I love so much. But the characters are amazing. Something about the time period. Like, I can just picture everything so clearly in my mind. If you don't know, this follows Iris, and I always want to call him something that is not his name. Roman. See, I always want to call him Kit because they call each other by their last names a lot. His last name is Kit. Anyways, they work at like this newspaper place. They're kind of rivals, interns, and there can only be like one person that's picked. This is also taking place during a war. I pictured this as like the 1930s, 1940s fashion-wise. but it is a fantasy book, so the time period isn't really clearly talked about because the war is between gods, not like just kingdoms or something. So she has a brother who's off at war, and she has this typewriter, and whenever she types something on the typewriter and puts it under her wardrobe, the letters disappear. So for, I don't know, months now, she's thought that all these letters are going to her brother, but they're actually going to Roman, and one day he finally decides to write back. So it's kind of like got that You've Got Mail aspect. He's kind of figuring out that it's her, but she has no idea that it's him kind of thing. So he like really likes her, but she still hates him because they're rivals at work. And then like just, it's so sad. So much happens. I love it so much. I'm scared to read the second book because it's the last one.
Okay, the next book I'm not going to talk about a whole lot because this is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, but that's Royal Assassin. And I will just say, if you are looking for a fantasy series to get into that is heavily focused on character development, that this is a great one to consider. It is a little on the slow side, but that is because there is a lot of character development and a lot of things going on in this world. But I feel like when it does lull, it's not for a long time. So, I don't know. I just highly recommend this book if you love a good character development series. You will love the main character. You'll be angry with him. You'll be frustrated. You'll feel sorry for him all in a matter of minutes. So, that's the Farseer trilogy.
Okay, my next book is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. And this is her second adult novel. I absolutely adored this book. I loved Spells for Forgetting. I read that, I think it came out last year, and I read it when it first came out. And this book, I can't really talk about too much or else it'll spoil it, but like, I was nervous. I was so nervous reading this. And this takes place in North Carolina on a flower farm, which, amazing setting. And this follows June Farrow, and there's kind of like a family curse to where all the women in her family randomly like just go insane. They disappear. They don't know why. It's always like at a different age, so it's kind of unpredictable. There's just signs like kind of hallucinations. You hear things, you see things, yada yada. And so this mainly follows her trying to figure that out. There's a bit of a romance, huge mystery. It's kind of confusing. My one complaint is that this came out in October and it takes place in the summer. I hate when people do that because
if you're a mood
like
reader,
by the cover, I don't know. There's just lots of orange going on.
warm.
Yeah, so I just kind of assumed it took place in the fall because Spells for Forgetting takes place in the fall and it released in the fall. So that was literally my one thing. If you read it in the summer, like, obviously it's fine, but it was like a torrential downpour every day, and I'm reading about these flower farms. So, that's literally it. It's just, it's not you, it's me.
Okay, the next book is another situation of getting a digital ARC and then deciding to go pick up a physical copy, and that is The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh. Courtney Walsh is now an auto-buy author for me. I will read anything she writes. I'm going back through her backlist, and I am looking forward to anything new that she puts out. But this follows Isadora Bentley, who is on the brink of her 30th birthday, and she's a researcher at a major university. And so everything she does is like very organized, very methodical. She's just like, she doesn't mess around. And then she's in the supermarket on her 30th birthday buying like a bunch of junk food, and she sees this article in this magazine that's like 31 ways to be happy, and she's like, I don't believe that. So she buys it and she decides to conduct an experiment based on the list of 31 ways to be happy. And so in doing so, she kind of like meets some new people. She becomes friends with people she normally wouldn't become friends with. There's a huge found family trope in this book, which is like probably one of the best I've ever read. It's incredibly heartwarming. her inner monologue is hilarious, which is why I went and bought this book, because I wanted Emmalynn to read it. But I can't recommend this book enough. If you need like a happy little pick-me-up, read this book.
Okay, next up I'm going to talk about my first digital book, which is Curses and Other Buried Things by Caroline George. This kind of gives the vibes of The Unmaking of June Farrow, but it takes place in, I believe, a swamp in Georgia. And this too follows a girl, a family curse. I can't remember the time period because we go back and forth.
Is that like in Louisiana or something?
I thought it was in Georgia.
Oh. Oh yeah, it is in Georgia.
I don't know. It's a real place that it takes place in. And so we too follow this girl's unraveling and trying to discover how to fix herself before she dies, because the women in her family have been known to either disappear or they like basically drown because they start sleepwalking. So then they sleepwalk into the swamp with like all the alligators and they die.
Oh my gosh.
So we follow this teenage girl trying to figure out what's gonna happen. There's so many family secrets. I love family secrets in books because the shock factor, like you just find out with the characters, if it's single POV, I just loved it so much. I feel like she is one of the most underrated authors. I've read 2 out of 3 of her books and I love them both.
Actually, we ended up on the next thing.
Oh, slide.
And that is just Sarah Adams in general. So we both read, what's the roommate series called? The Temporary Roomie?
Something like that.
Yeah. The Off-Limits Rule and The Temporary Roomie, we both read. It happened in Nashville, so we read that one because we love Nashville. And so that was like the first thing we were drawn to. Hilarious. Loved it. And then I read the Dalton Family duology, which is like a Regency. Loved it. Loved it so much. Like I can't say enough good things about Sarah Adams. She's easy to read. She writes heartwarming stories. She has really funny dialogue. And then you read...
I read When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect.
Oh, you did read the other one. Okay, I cannot remember.
Yes. I absolutely love this series. I don't know if I could pick a favorite, but these books are just extra funny to me because of the side characters. Mm-hmm. It almost gave Gilmore Girls vibes because it takes place in a small town. So there's all these like really nosy elderly people that just, talk nonstop when they should stop, and it's hilarious. And so this follows Amelia and Noah, and Amelia is a pop star, and Noah is a baker. He took over the family business. And then Practice Makes Perfect follows one of Noah's sisters. And I don't know if we're getting more in this series. I really hope so. I know right now she's writing like a second book to go with the cheat sheet, I think.
Oh yeah, it's coming out next year.
So I hope she comes back because there's like 2 more sisters. So I think we need to do that.
She can just keep writing about their side characters and we'll just keep reading them. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next 2 books I have are The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. I'm not going to say a whole lot about this book because I feel like everyone knows what it's about, but it's also a mystery thriller, and so I can't give too much away. But this follows our main character, Nina, who is a housemaid, and she finds herself in some really interesting predicaments being a housemaid. And the plot twists are like nothing you've heard before. I don't think you'll guess it. Like, you'll think you know, and then the book will take a drastic left turn, and you're like, didn't see that.
I have a very unhinged guess, but I don't want to share it.
Okay, well, don't say.
But it's so outlandish.
There is a third book coming out in 2024. So, these books are on Kindle Unlimited. I think all of her books are. But I just was randomly reading about her last night. She's like a doctor of like a brain injury doctor. And I'm like...
That's probably why she writes mystery.
Like, she's got some real life experience with some like... psychological thrillers. So... if you're looking for just something fast-paced, like easy to read, easy to get through, I highly recommend anything written by her. I'm really interested in reading more of her books this year. or next year.
Okay, my next book is also by Adrienne Young, and that is A Sky in the Deep. And this is, I wish it was like 7 books. I love this book so much. This follows Vikings, basically. There's 2 specifically, like, villages or whatever. They, like, hate each other, but then there's one that's, like, coming to attack both of them, so they have to, like, join together. Like, a bit of a forbidden love story. An amazing main character.
Vikings. Need we say more?
It's just...
Like, I want to
amazing.
be her.
Yes. I would reread this right now. The winter vibes are incredible as well. And it is, it's pretty gruesome. Love it.
Very fast paced. Okay, we both read this book. Oh my gosh, I just set myself in the face. Okay. We both read this book this year, like, bam, bam, one after another. And that is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is my first Riley Sager book. And I think I will definitely be picking up more. But this book is set in the 80s, which I found to be really interesting. I wish there was more 80s content, like, that let you know it was set in the 80s more. It's
something you kind of forgot. Until you were like, until the lack of
technology. But it's not like a main part of the plot line, I guess. But this follows a girl named, I can't remember the main character, Kit. And she is like a home health nurse. And she's kind of like in desperate need of a job and can't find anything else. And so she gets placed into this home for this lady named Lenora Hope. And Lenora is infamous because she was an author, but also because when Lenora was young, her entire family was murdered. And so no one wants to, like, go to where she lives. She lives obviously in, like, a very reclusive, almost like it's not on an island, but it's, like, just out on the coast, very reclusive. And everyone just kind of stays away from her because they think, like, she's cursed or her house is cursed. Just, like, you know, stay away. So Kit decides to take the job because she literally has, like, no other prospects. And there's just, wow. There's a lot of things that happen while she is caring for Lenora Hope. And one thing I love about this book, and I think Emmalynn would say as well,
I love
is the rhyming.
It is creepy.
I can't even remember. It's like...
My favorite one...
Killed her, Lenora Hope, killed her family with a rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite rhyme...
I don't even know.
This is not on my list. It probably should be. I don't know. Truly Devious has an incredible rhyme. Low-key creepy. Low-key disturbing, and I love it.
But maybe this book has several plot twists. And they were, I don't know, I just feel like it was done really well. I really liked the atmosphere, the setting, the house, like the decrepit, falling apart house, the side characters. Like, it was just very well done. I can't really imagine anyone who likes a good thriller not liking this. But I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Okay, my next book is Sisters of Sword and Song, also by Rebecca Ross. And this, I feel like, is one of her most underrated books. I think I talk about this in, like, every video. I'm about to freaking reread it. I love it so much, and I want to annotate it. This follows 2 sisters. We get both of their perspectives. I don't really want to say their names, because they're, like... One of them is a soldier in the Queen's Army, and one of them... she kind of wants to be like a scholar type thing. It's called something different in this world. But I love this book so much. I don't even want to tell you anything because there's so much going on. But her older sister who serves in the Queen's Army is accused of a crime. And so basically the younger one tries to figure out how to get her out of this situation. And then it turns out there's much more going on within the government, as usual. Standalone. Love it. Love it, love it.
Okay, this book is also by Adrienne Young, and that is Spells for Forgetting. This book is beautiful. Like, just start to finish beautiful. The fall this book is great for fall. Like, the fall vibes, the Pacific Northwest vibes, the rainy weather on the coast. Like, it is just immaculate. But this follows, it has dual timeline, but it follows our main character, Emery, who lives on this small little coastal town in the Pacific Northwest. And when she was younger, her best friend was murdered, and her boyfriend at the time, August, was accused of her best friend's murder. And he was never, like, arrested or tried or anything like that. Like, it was just kind of like everyone in the town thought that August was to blame. And so to kind of escape that, I don't know, that, like, accusation, he leaves town, and something makes him have to come back to town, and that's where we pick up this book. And so in, like, coming back to the town and having to deal with some things, they start uncovering the truth of what really happened in this murder, and there's just a lot of town secrets at work. And I loved that so much. Like, I love a good town secret, you know? It's like everyone's kind of, like, got their hands in the cookie jar, and they're all slightly to blame. So, I don't know. Adrienne Young's writing is just literal perfection to me. Oh my gosh. Jill. I couldn't remember her. I almost said Jenna.
But
Jill Duggar.
I don't even remember her married last name.
Third. Jill Duggar. Starts with a D as well. Okay, so this is the story of the show, her being on the show, 19 Kids and Counting. It's also the story of her just growing up in this very toxic masculinity, almost cult-like religion of Bill Gothard. And the thing that I really appreciated about this memoir was she told the truth in a very respectful way. Even though there was a lot of things that her parents did wrong throughout her life and her upbringing, she stayed very respectful to them. She wasn't degrading or, like, condescending towards them. She just told the facts. And I don't know, it was just very moving to me. I feel like she did it in a very mature way. And it was really interesting, I think, for us, because the girls kind of grew up, like, watching 19 Kids and Counting, and my younger daughter Ellie was obsessed with all of the girls and loved them so much. And so to see this side of the story was just, I don't know, it was just very heart-wrenching, very sad, but also just very well done. So I really enjoyed it. It was super fast read too. Let's see what else we have that's the same. Okay, so this year I reread Caraval, and then I continued the Caraval series, and I cannot say in words how much I love this series. I don't know why I didn't finish it before, but I love it so much, and I'm so glad I finished it. Like, this series is probably one of my all-time favorite series. I loved the descriptions, the game elements, the fantasy. I don't know. I loved everything about it. So, yeah. If you've read Caraval but haven't finished the rest, I feel like the books just get better as they go on. And then, I don't know where it is. Oh. Then I decided, I read Caraval to read this series, but I honestly think I liked Caraval better. But I did enjoy this series.
She likes dark things.
Yes. And that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Then, what is the next one? I don't even know. A Curse for True Love.
The Ballad of Never After.
The Ballad of Never After.
And A Curse for True Love.
And I definitely loved the second book the most.
I think it's collected.
It has the most Jax content for sure. I wasn't, like, head over heels with how the series was wrapped up, but I'm hoping...
I'm happy with the ending.
I'm hoping that's because she's going to continue it in another way. So
I think she is. I don't think she could move on from this series without an extreme amount of hate.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be really mad. And just her personality type, like, she's not a Throne of Glass writer at all. I can't see her leaving something so fluffy and doing something else. Like, the only other thing I can see her writing is just romance books.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters too that were introduced in this series that I feel like we could get a spin-off series on. So there's that. But my most loved series of the year was definitely Throne of Glass. Now, did I read actually Throne of Glass this year? No, I think I read it last year. But did I finish the series this year? Yes, we did. We did it together forever.
We were emotionally damaged together.
Wow.
Even just, this is so cheesy, but like the chapter headers are the same throughout all the books, and I miss seeing this. I miss reading this, and when is too soon?
All of the characters, I love them all so much. They all have a special place in my heart. They all brought something to the table to make this story unique and special, and I love it so much. I love it so much. We need to just buy the new covers and annotate them together.
Yes.
So
I'm convinced we have to annotate them in different colors.
Yes.
So we can see like who thinks what is valuable information.
Yeah.
Or funny. So yeah, those are our favorite books of the year. I don't know how many that was.
A lot.
Doesn't matter.
Who's counting?
And I'm kind of like proud of myself. My reading amount has gone down every year, and I think that's good personally because I'm doing other activities. I feel like for a long time I used to have like guilt over like
not
playing
reading
a video game or something like that you don't feel like you're making progress, and this still like felt somewhat academic to me, whether it was a classic or not. You're working your brain, but I'm very proud of myself, and Mother actually read more than me this year, so that's also impressive.
Maybe I had less of a life this year than you.
I did more.
Yeah. Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what your favorite book of 2023 was, and we will see you in our next video. Bye-bye.